Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to A Few Short Minutes with Stacey Short. I'm Stacey Short. I'm a transformational self-love coach. And today I have Roger Pollard. Let me tell you about Roger. Roger is a coach, a mentor, a high school teacher for the last 15 years. And he actually is a first-time author of a motivational book series. Roger, thank you so much for agreeing to be my guest. Welcome.
Stacy, thank you for having me. I'm just blessed to be here, blessed to be with you, blessed to have a conversation, and let's get rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, this is just a conversational style podcast where I have different mentors, thought leaders, business people on to share their kind of authenticity and motivation. And so down below, you see Roger's IG and his site, motiveinmotivation.com. So go follow him, go sign up for whatever kind of newsletter he has. And Roger, why don't you tell us about Motive and Motivation, how it came to be and what it's about?
Motive and motivation is really just, and we've all in this space, we've all seen the motivational coaches, we've heard the motivational speeches, and I said, I think the thing we really got to focus on is what the motive is, and the motive is an interior drive that propels us forward. And I tell my students all the time, like, it's good to have someone that motivates you, but what happens if it's crunch time and they're not there? So I think the most important person that we need to motivate is ourselves, and that's through identifying where our motive is. So that's where what I'm writing about. It's what I speak about on my Instagram page, and just different nuggets and different things here and there. Nothing life changing in terms of the size. I think it's everything. Everything is about incremental steps, and that's what makes the biggest change.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the foundation and the basis of coaching across any board is taking the big things and chunking them down into bite-sized pieces so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Tell us about your books.
My books, I started. It was only going to be one book. I promise it was, but I said if we were going to McDonald's right now, in order for me to get there, I'd have to know where McDonald's is, but I also have to know where I am. So the first book in the series, the book everyone should read, I wasn't shy with the title, but it's about finding out who you are. Like, find out who you are from psychological perspective, from a sociological perspective, and now that you have more of a home base about who you are, you're comfortable in your own skin. Through the individual, through what we know from groups of people, I have a better understanding of me. Now, how do we act? And I can't give you actions for every single scenario. So I narrowed it down to, and this is the second book, courage, love, and discipline. So we need courage in order to face the future, knowing both good and bad. We need love, the form of ultimate self-sacrifice in terms of what I do in the present, and then discipline, using the lessons and blessings I've learned from the past to help me move forward into the future, for the past. So it's pretty much courage, love, discipline, past, present, future. I'm who I was, I am, and I'm also who I'm becoming. So, and then now my third book that I'm writing with that, which will hopefully complete the series, is all of the rationale, the philosophical, theological reasons behind why it's courage, why it's love, why it's discipline. And for example, I broke courage down into, um, are you deliberate about what you're eating? Are you deliberate about how you're sleeping? And are you deliberate about how you're exercising? And moving that. So now I can say, okay, am I being courageous? And now from a practical standpoint, all right, well, how am I eating? Is there a certain way that I can eat that can change how I'm thinking? We think of food as in something that's just going to satisfy us, but it's also something that changes us. It changes how we think, how
Yeah.
we might view our day. So um, going through all of that. So I'm in book 3 now, and it's a headache, but it's fun.
It's a labor of love on a
Yes,
multitude of levels, right?
yes,
Um,
yes.
have you always been this motivated? Have you always been a motivational speaker? And where did it come from?
Uh,
Whether you
I
acquired it or grew up with it?
I think it's something I've always gravitated to. You know, we live life forward and we kind of understand it backwards. You know, and just looking back at my life, I was always a was an athlete, played basketball, football, ran track for a little bit, and was always the guy when because you don't win games on game day. You know, you win games in the weight room months before. You win games on the track months before, and it's during those times that I found myself always trying to push my teammates, push myself, you know, and I think any athlete, the number one person you have to push is yourself. So I've always been that kind of motivational person. And that really moved into my profession. You know, I think all of us have had a high school teacher, or all of us have had a coach that motivated you, that moved at you. We, you know, teaching would be easier if you could just walk into a classroom and put a book on the desk and say, read pages, this and that, and go. But I think a major part of any leader um, is is a motivator, right? Everybody who is under your lead isn't always willing to give their best effort, which I think is one of the biggest contradictions we have as people, right? We're always talking about what we want, but I say belief. If you change the F and the E, it's be life. You know, what you believe is what you do, and the first person we lie to is ourselves. So if you really want to know what your goals are, if you really want to know what you want, view yourself, look at yourself, really analyze and reflect. How have I been acting? If you're telling me you want to lose weight, but I always see you with Burger King in your hand. If you're telling me that you want this new job, but you're always leaving early, you know, there's a certain contradiction right there. You know, as a high school teacher, I deal with kids. You know, just today, what grade do you want in my class? I want an A. We're an hour in the class, but if I hold your paper up, there's nothing on the paper. So am I supposed to judge you off of what you say or what you do? And now I'll flip it on you. You have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and they say they love you. They confess their love to you in front of the world, but they're kissing someone in the mouth right next to you. Do you believe what they say or do you believe what they do? And now
Yeah.
you know, it's pushing people to understand. Hey, look, believe what you do, not what you say to yourself. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, I love that. What subjects do you teach in school?
I'm a world history this year. I started off in with sociology and psychology, and when I got my head football job, I kind of shied away from that, and I got out of it. I stopped coaching. Now it's been 3 years, so now I'm moving back into the world history, and I'm teaching psychology again. So I really love uh, I guess it's just what I love to do. I looked at a lot of the books that I've read throughout my childhood, and it's always been about the human brain, and it's always been about our physiology and how we work and our psychology. So I like taking that and pushing it into the motivational realm. You know, help. Are there things that you can do to get you in a better state to learn or to study or to remember what you studied? You know, we've all been in that situation where we've read a book we've read a book and then you're 5 pages through and then you're like, okay, hold on, what did I just read?
Right.
So
Yeah.
um, I just love it. That's what I do on my free time when there is free time, and and I don't know. It's just I think I tell people that we're all born with our personality, and I think it's something that was just born in me, and I've traced it through whether it was as a player, as a coach, and as a teacher. It's something that I've always done. So um, there you go.
Oh, I love it. I had a great sociology, psychology teacher in high school, and it was my favorite class because of that. I ended up with a BA in psych and a minor in criminology in college, years later. So I get that. I kind of geek out on neuroscience myself.
Yes,
It's
yes,
kind of my secret, nerd passion. And it's actually part of one of the certifications that I have is something that's in the neuroscience area. So I
okay.
love that stuff so much. What would
Hmm.
be one of your favorite books that maybe laymen could read? That would be psychology, sociology, neuroscience.
My favorite. I really liked Rob Sapolsky's book, Behave. He's coming out with another one named Determined, which he's saying there's no such thing as free will, which I'm with him to a certain degree. But Behave was a really good one. That was the latest one that I read, and just blown away with it. Just tracing tracing how our brain works and how so many things, so many of our beliefs are can be a consequence of our surroundings and our setting and our environment. You know, how we were
For
raised,
sure.
what we were doing when we were raised, and how those things are they stay with us. You know, I heard a quote somewhere, I forgot who said it, but said the past has never passed; it's always with us. So, you know, I'm big on telling my students that they have to identify the hidden drives within them, because if you don't know what's driving you, then it will always drive you because you haven't identified it. You can't hit
Yeah.
a
You're
target
on
before.
autopilot, not
Right, right.
self-aware.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so
How
that
many
was a
years
good
do
one.
you,
Oh, go
no,
ahead.
that's okay. No,
Oh,
how many years do you think you, sorry, you go.
um, and then the other one, the the Jordan Peterson craze is his two books, and then I really love Peterson, not necessarily for all of his mainstream talk, but I love watching his classes and going into uh, again, how the brain is structured, what these things mean, and he really got me into the deep study of the big five personality traits, which I find really interesting. And it's once you learn a new piece of information, it's crazy that the world that you see kind of changes as well.
Every time it opens up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, for
Yeah.
sure. Are you a fan of Andrew Huberman? I
Oh
love
yeah,
Huberman Lab. Oh
yes,
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
absolutely blows me away every time.
mm,
Every time I hear, some hit a YouTube or a TikTok or whatever.
yeah.
I love that stuff. I eat it up. It's so
Well,
fantastic.
I barely even listen to music on the way in to work anymore. It's almost I listen to Huberman, I listen to Sapolsky, of course. I listen to Peterson, and I'm listening to John Vervaeke with cognitive science, which is some really good stuff, and then Liam McGilchrist on the biohemispherical brain structure and right brain and left brain, a lot of those concepts. So, there's so much information out there. There's always something to listen to. So 100%, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to when before the internet, that wasn't so easy to access. And if you
No.
accessed it, it was literally um, some, God, I'm so dating myself here. You guys don't judge. It was some VHS tape
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you rented either from a teacher or the library of
yeah,
some poorly recorded college class or
yeah.
seminar symposium that maybe the sound was crappy or
Hmm.
and it just the internet has
Where we?
changed.
Oh
uh
yeah, and don't worry about dating yourself, because I hear some of my kids' birth dates, and it sends me into shock. So
I know.
trust
I know.
trust me.
When I hear
Uh,
some music that I absolutely loved on the classics channel, I just want to,
Yeah, you're like, what? Huh? What are you talking about? Classic?
I
This
know.
just came out. Oh, oh,
Oh
oh.
yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Yikes.
yeah,
Yeah, in fact, I
exactly.
said something to my son yesterday. I was like, well, yeah, 20 years ago. And then I was like, damn, I can't believe
Mm,
I just said that.
yeah, I just willingly just gave
I
that
just
up.
fell out of my fell out of my mouth. And he goes, Mom, you're old. And I was like, just shut your hole. Just be quiet.
Hey, just your
Yeah.
your
So
turn. Your turn's gonna come. Your turn's gonna come.
yeah.
But
And it
it's
happens faster than you
then
think,
you
little
think
man.
100%, and it's crazy, but we've all heard it before, and we've all been like that, and we've been their age before. So, and
That's yeah.
it's great, it's great having all of this information, but at the same time, I also say, there's only one truth. If there's 100, out of 100%, 1% of it is truth, and 99% of it is some kind of there's something missing. And I think what it has also done is it has exponentially increased the amount of garbage that people can listen to. And if I think our most divine act, or our most divine power, if we were superhumans, is our ability to pay attention. And if we're not careful about where we pay attention and how we pay attention, uh, because people have incentives to turn us into mindless consumers, we can get lost. And that's really what I'm kind of about. I like giving people definitions of words, because I think a lot of the time, like, we're conversating using words, but if we don't both have the same definitions in words, we're we're not really communicating. We're talking at cross purposes. And then too, like, how are you being intentional about your attention in something that's going to build and nurture a better version of yourself? Not 24 hours a
Yeah.
day, because you'll go crazy.
No.
You have to live. But what is a small incremental thing that you're doing on a daily basis to have that future you say I love you, to have that
Yeah.
future you thank you, and the only person who's going to be happy about it is you, at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely. That's the whole reason I named my coaching company A Few Short Minutes. I mean, because it was my name, but
right,
also because it literally only takes a few short minutes of mindfulness, of intention, a day to actually rewire your brain,
right,
learn something new, be different, change a behavior, change a habit. But you've got to be aware in those few
yeah,
minutes,
yeah,
multiple times a day, to say, is this really in alignment with who I am, what I want, and who I want to be? And if not, maybe you want to
yeah,
think of some other thing to do instead that is in alignment with who
mm,
you want to be or what the outcome is that you want. Like you said, can't say I want to lose weight and then be at Burger King.
mm.
Just can't. That's
Right, it just doesn't
facts.
match up. It doesn't match
It
up, and
doesn't
and
match up.
and I like of course, I'm dealing with high school kids all the time, I don't want the answer that you can give to somebody just to shut them up. You know, oh, what are you thinking about the future? Oh, I'm going to go to college. All right, well, your behavior this whole year doesn't tell me anything about college, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that not going to college is a bad thing. I think there are multiple ways in which people can achieve their success. Everybody isn't made for the same thing, so it all comes back down to the evaluation of self, and through an objective lens, not a subjective lens, which is hard. But get out of our feelings and get into the facts. And once we do that, we can make an honest assessment of ourselves, and then we know which way we should move forward. And where do you like? Why? What do you value? Why do you value it? And where did these beliefs and thoughts come from? And if we look at history, people can be led to do some malevolent and malicious things. So we can't just say, like, in this hubristic concept that oh, I'm in charge of me. I
Right.
ask my students all the time, like, what percentage of anything that you identify with yourself was created by you? Your language was given to you, your clothes were given to you, your how like how many different
The
beliefs were
music
given
you
to you?
listen to, the TV you
100%.
watch.
100%. And how
Hmm.
many ideas are being transplanted into you without you knowing, if you're not intentional about your attention? So
Yeah.
we know there's marketers out there. So are you marketing to yourself? Is my question,
Yeah.
and that's what it
Sales
comes down to.
psychology is a multi-million dollar business every year
Mm,
just to get
yeah,
you to buy, the
yeah,
Yeezys
yeah,
or drink Coke or,
yeah,
eat at Applebee's, whatever that is. It's multi-million dollars of screwing with your brain to
yeah,
make you think you've got to have that iPhone, which, by
yeah.
the way, I am not immune to,
Yeah, no, and
but
that's
at
what I
least
tell
I
my
know I'm
and
choosing it.
I tell my students all the time. I'm like, hey, look, I'm with you, but wisdom is there's knowledge and there's wisdom, and to know something is one thing, but to to have wisdom is knowing when I should use that knowledge, to what
What
degree
to
should
do
I
with
use
it.
that knowledge, what
Yeah,
can I do with that, and
absolutely.
be where your feet are, to use a Nick Saban term. I have an
That
iPhone,
is
okay, that's fine,
that's
but
the tagline of my emails. That's how I sign off, is be where your
oh
feet
yeah,
are.
that's it, that's it.
Roger,
Yeah,
I knew it. We're here.
yeah,
We're
but
here. I love that
you know,
so much. Yeah. Be where
we're
your feet are.
be where
Explain
your
that
feet are.
concept for people
That
that don't really understand it.
we we're I think we're just in a well, the human mind. Uh, well, I'll say it like this: we know all of our own faults. I know everything that I have done wrong and all the reasons why I shouldn't, and all this, and I can get caught up into NST, negative self-talk, and and at the end of the day, if you go into your mind, there's more negativity there because of all of the faults of myself that I know, instead of right here in this conversation and right now. And if we're only focused on just being in that present moment and being in that right now, um, the ability to do things that you would have never dreamed of doing. If you would have asked me, hey, would you ever have thought you wrote a book? I would have told you no, definitely not. No, I'm not writing. But if
Yeah.
if I if I'm never where my feet are, if I'm never in that situation, if I'm never right there in that present moment, then I can always talk myself out of anything. So it's just,
Yeah.
take a deep breath, woosah, and align right now with where you want to go. Now, no one said it's going to be easy. No one said you're always going to win at it, but you will always extract something of a learning lesson, and
Yeah.
and that's the most important thing. We are made to learn, and that's it. So be where your feet are. It's
Yeah,
don't complicate
exactly.
it.
I
Mm,
tell my clients all the time, to me, be where your feet are means you're not future tripping or past
mhm,
regretting. Because if your
mhm,
brain is on what you've got to do tonight or go to the store and run in the list, then you're not where your feet are. Your feet are here, present, on the
yeah,
ground right now, or in a chair, whatever,
yeah,
but your brain is 3 weeks out. So
yeah,
you're not, or you're 3 weeks behind about a
yeah.
conversation that you had and you wish you had said this and you wish you had said that. It's
Right,
done. It's
right.
done. What did you learn? Okay,
Mm,
so be here. And like
yep,
you said, Wusa, you guys, Wusa, like it legitimately works, by the
yeah,
way. It's not
yeah.
just a Martin Lawrence joke. It
Mm.
legitimately works.
Right. And
You
that's
know,
so it's so funny how so many sayings have physiological truths from a neuropsychological
yeah,
standpoint.
right.
It's the what is it? It's the double inhale sigh by Huberman.
Ah, the
If you want to,
physiological side. It's my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah,
Yeah.
the deep breath, and it actually, from that the from the from it calms down your amygdala, which is fight or flight, which is all worry,
Yeah.
and it actually turns on your prefrontal cortex where you can start, thinking. So, um,
Hmm.
you know,
It also
essentially,
stimulates your vagus nerve and it brings in your
mm,
parasympathetic nervous system, which brings
there you
everything
go.
down. And let's do one together. So, for people that
Yeah,
don't know it, and I absolutely over exaggerate mine on purpose
yeah,
because I want you to smile at the end of it because you're like, man, I sound like an idiot. Yes. Yes, you do. And that's okay because now you're a calm idiot. So, I
right.
actually encourage my clients to over exaggerate it with me. And
Mm,
usually they're not so keen on it. So, I just do it for them. So,
yeah.
let's teach them what it is. So it's a big
Mm,
breath
so,
and then a little breath on top. And then you hold
mm,
it for a couple of seconds. And then when you sigh out, again, I over exaggerate, but I do not just a sigh, but I go
mm,
with it to
mm,
really stimulate that
get
vagus
everything
nerve.
going.
So let's do one together. Ready?
There
Okay,
you go.
1, 2, 3.
And I could feel my body relax as I'm going out.
Yes.
You know,
You can feel it
wow,
coming out,
yeah,
coming down as you're exhaling.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I love it so much. And you feel you like again, it's hard not to smile after
mm,
you hear
mm,
me sound like an
right.
idiot. And that's okay. You can laugh at
Yeah.
me. I'm good
No,
with that.
that's fine. And what I tell, I'm like, look, you can't change how you feel, but you can change how you act, which will
Yeah.
change how you feel. So, if you're a highly stressed out person, it's something that will work wonders just through your breath work. Just through that. I'm extremely big on getting the information about meditation and what that does. How there's a study where after 11 hours of meditation, which is not continuous, not continuous, but like,
Oh, I was
let's
going
say
to
if it was
say, well, I
over,
can't
yeah,
go past 20 minutes. That's
right. But
11
but
hours. That's some
l-
Buddhist monk stuff.
let's 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 say after 22 days, so it's 30 minutes a day. You go into the MRI machine, and then after those 22 days, after that 11 hours, you go into the MRI machine again, and the gray matter in your brain in a particular region that's over your ability to focus, actually, like, you grow more brain in
Yes,
doing
you
that.
do.
So,
Yes, you
I
do.
tell my students, if we were to say that, and not say it, but it's true, everything that we do is training our brain. Well, what is social media as I'm scrolling training my brain to do? It's not pay attention. You know, attention is only what 2 or 3 seconds every time I'm and now,
Yeah.
well, like we said, my ability to pay attention is my superpower. You know, it's like we're training our brain not to pay attention, which is, you know, it's like uh, Superman wearing a kryptonite necklace. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Oh,
So,
sure.
um,
Sure. I love
you
that
know,
visual.
so
I'm actually, hold on. This is like catching on my hair and falling out. I'm actually, one of the modalities that I'm trained in is called positive intelligence, and it's NLP, positive psychology, and neuroscience all together. And
okay,
so, what it is developed, the gentleman that researcher professor at Stanford University, his name's Shazad Shemaine. I think he's an amazing mentor of mine. But what he teaches is an active meditation to actually bring down everything and bring your focus in so you can make a different decision. So I'd love to teach it to you and you can take it to your students. How about that?
oh, 100%,
Beautiful.
a
All right,
100%.
everybody. What I want you to do is put your forefinger and your thumb together, and then you rub it back and forth. But you're going to rub it back and forth with such intention, with your attention on it, that you can actually feel the ridges of your fingerprints. Now, you might have to play with like the pressure and the veracity of which you rub back and forth. But it's hard for me to speak and do it at the same time because it takes such intense focus. And so when you do it, don't forget to breathe. I always hold my breath because it takes really that much focus. There's no room in your brain for anything else. So just go ahead, take a couple of seconds. Breathe. And try to feel the ridges of your fingerprints. All right. What did you think?
Oh, great, outstanding, 100%. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love it, especially because it's a movie like the one I do with my students is, you know, focus all of your attention on the bottom of your feet, and now all of a sudden, you know, that feeling becomes salient to you. And then I'll say, you know, now focus on your breath. So we do different things like that. So
Yep.
I love that. And being, you know, usually you rub your fingers together, you don't feel anything. But now, if you really now hone in and move your attention to it, you can feel the ripples, you can feel everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's
And
outstanding.
there's
I love
no room for anxiety. There's no room for future
it.
tripping. There's no room for past regretting because
Mhm.
it takes that
It
much
takes
attention
all
to
of that.
feel your finger ridges. Like it's crazy. It's something
Right.
so what you would think is simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it isn't. So yeah, take that to the class. I think they'd
Yeah.
like it.
I am definitely like 100%. It's happening. It's happening.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
it's so much happening that it's probably already happened if we don't know it.
It has. It has, because we live in a multiverse and everything's happening all at once, right?
There it is.
Everything all at once. Like that
There it
movie
is.
was
You saw that
fantastic. That
movie?
movie,
Oh yeah,
come
loved it.
on.
Loved
That
it.
movie, spot
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Spot on.
And
Um,
it's how all of these things are coming out that all of us just kind of just know innately within our being and our soul. And it's just, I think it's an exciting time, honestly, you know. So
1000%. Quantum anything, I'm there.
yeah.
I'm there.
Mm.
I believe. I'm nerding out and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Quantum physics where two molecules thousands of miles apart rotate at the exact same speed, exact same time. One moves, the other one moves so instantaneously that you can't track it. You can't quantify it. Come on.
Well, we're all connected, and the example I use with
1000%.
that is, you know, when we're driving and all of a sudden we feel someone looking at us, and then we look and someone's staring at it and they look away as if we didn't just catch them. But how do I feel that? Like there's more truth, and I think we all know this. There's more truth than can be explained, but sometimes for some reason for some very simple reason we act like it has to have soundproof explanation in order for it to be real. And there's something there in terms of spirit. There's something there in terms of having a connection to, I am not because I think, but I am because you are. The differences between
Yeah.
us doesn't make us worse. It doesn't make us better. It just makes us different. And let's celebrate those differences with how we do things. So um, my greatest belief is that we're both individuals and we're both groups. Like the most important thing that has ever happened to anybody and any of us is that we were born. If we weren't born, we wouldn't be here. But the other thing
Yeah.
that equally important is that there was someone there to take care of you. So I think like our truth isn't just a singular concept. It has to be both single and group, and that's why I focus on the psychological and sociological from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So
The
yeah.
collective for sure. One
Mm,
fact or one, piece of information that's always blown my mind is that the chances of us being born are 1 in 400 trillion with a T, not
yeah.
billion with a B, trillion.
Mm,
1 in 400 trillion.
mm,
That's the chance
mm,
of you being born.
yeah.
What are you going to
Mm,
do with it?
right. Right. And instead
Eh,
of feeling, and that's where that's where I don't think everything is not determined. If everything was determined, I don't think uh, marketers and marketing would try so hard to keep people astray. But I think we do have an ability, or we have the ability to focus in our attention to self growth. I think we all have to. If I if if I had a 5-year old kid here and he said, I don't need to learn anything about myself, we would all call him crazy. But I think anybody at any age would be crazy to ever say that. I think we're always learning and we're always
yeah.
growing. And there is some real there's some real worth to people, to all of us, investing time to not grow our bank account, not grow anything other than who we are. It's not about having more, it's about becoming more. And if you become more, you can have more, but just because you have more doesn't mean you become more. And I think we're missing that mark as a society.
Yeah. Absolutely. Abundance doesn't mean exactly money. It could
Right.
be an
Uh,
abundance of information, abundance of love, abundance of, you know, uh,
of
uh,
life.
awareness,
Right.
abundance of life. And what I know to be true is when you live in abundance elsewhere, then abundance follows. And
Yeah.
so if you want that money, if you want to get that bag, okay, what are you doing to get it in that abundance category? How are you giving in
Yeah.
order to receive? And I know that to be true for a ton of life coaches and health coaches and any kind of coach, is that we don't chase the money, we chase the impact.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
because we chase the impact and we are and we're creators of impact, then the money finds us, the abundance finds us, because we are focused on creating abundance for somebody else, abundance of love, abundance of acceptance, abundance of life change. And so I know that to be true for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
And it's essentially, money isn't value. Money is a representation of value. And as long as you're increasing your value, then the representation of value will follow. If maybe you're wrong. Maybe you think you're in that abundant state, but if it's not coming, then something obviously isn't working out. Now, we're
Yeah.
also individuals and we're also slaves to the group as well. Because my example for that is, look at Zoom. Zoom, same platform, same everything, but if COVID doesn't take place, they don't blow up the way that they did. So, sometimes it's you and sometimes it's just, not that time. But essentially, no matter, we can ask all of the Egyptians, I don't care how much they bury you with it, it's not going with you. So
Yeah,
at the
clearly
end
it's
of the
still there if we're unearthing it thousands of years later.
day, so I I I don't. I think we're a little bit too much in love with worldly things. As I say this with the AC on and the computers and all that stuff, but I think essentially we've gotta also spend some time growing something that uh, can't be expressed in word. Can only be
And can't be
expressed in,
taken from you.
yeah,
A
yep,
hurricane, could come and wipe out. I live in Vegas, it's not a hurricane, but a
yeah,
hurricane could come and wipe out my house. But it can't take what's up here. It can't take
100%.
that knowledge that I have
100%.
fought hard for, and I've healed hard for, and I will continue to heal hard for. I think it's interesting that you said, you think you're living in abundance, but you look around and it's not happening. Something's off. I want to go back to the negative self-talk, because that's where I really specialize in. And so a lot of times that's where I find the disconnect is, of like, oh, I want this, but if I really dig around in your brain, you're saying I'm not worthy of it.
Well, yep. And we also, I think everything we have is simplified. We simplify everything, and it's kind of, it's allowed us to do so much more, but I think it's also hurt us. Just there's there's more than one type of knowledge, right? Like, at the end of the day, you know the chair that I'm sitting in, but who knows it better, me or you? And it'll be me, because I'm participating in sitting down on it. But who would know this chair better than me, even though I'm sitting down on it, is the person that built it as well. So, as we're saying that we're moving or acting or living in abundance, is that abundance of the participatory knowledge? Is it of the procedural knowledge? Is it of the propositional knowledge? The highest form of knowledge is participatory. We if I write KISS on the screen, what that means. What is the procedure of a kiss? But if you've never been kissed, I can't explain that to you. There are some things that you just have to go through and grow through. You don't go through things, you grow through things. So it's having the ability to, hey, do you really want it? And now, uh, identify the ways in which you are acting and participating that are
Mhm.
both criticism. Criticism is identifying what I'm doing positively and identifying what I'm doing negatively, and
Right.
then
It's
saying,
encompassing.
I'm going to do less of this and more of that, and participating in the right ways to get what it is ultimately that we as the individual say that we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And that negative self-talk can put that kibosh on it. And I think for me, what's so insidious about negative self-talk is, even though it was given to you, you don't remember when it
Yeah,
happened because it was so long
correct.
ago and so subversive. And now it sounds like your voice. Now it's
Yes.
you saying that to yourself instead of
Hmm.
the person who actually gave it to you years ago. You don't hear their voice in their head. It's an internalized mother now. And so you hear it as your own voice. So it must be true.
Hmm.
But
And
that's
it,
so
and
far.
it's a part of finding out who you are, because essentially, neuroticism, right? Neuroticism is how sensitive you are to negative emotion. Well, are you a neurotic person? And once you've identified that, oh yeah, you know what, I am pretty sensitive to certain concepts and things. Well, maybe you've put yourself in a situation where you're being bombarded by negativity, and that's not something that agrees with you. But essentially, again, we cannot hit a target that we have not identified. So you have to identify those propensities within yourself, find out where they came from. Is it naturally just you, or did you grow up in a household where you were always being, chastised for something, and
Yeah.
have you carried that on? Because as long as we do not identify these things and where they come from within ourselves, we're essentially just puppets to them. And then from a physiological standpoint, if you we have two networks. We have a social default network, and we have a network, and both of them are always, playing and tugging on each other. But as soon as we stop thinking about something for 2.5 seconds, our social default network goes, and we start thinking about other people, and we start comparing ourselves to other people. We start thinking about what are they doing, and that's where the negative self-talk comes in, because I don't know what other people's flaws are, but I know all of my flaws. And the representation that I put of them in my head is of some golden knight, and of me, it's of all of the ways that I fall short. And now you go down this vicious cycle. So again,
Yeah.
and then, to bring it full circle, be where your feet are.
Be where your feet are. It's why it's one of my favorite things
Yeah.
of all time. That's been my email sign off for like 5 years now.
Ooh.
Like 5
Mm.
years now. Yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
Did you hear it from Saban, or did Saban hear it from somewhere else?
I
And
heard
you
it.
got from
No, I heard it from Joe Dispenza. So I don't
okay,
know if it was a
okay,
Saban
where it came
who
from?
came
Yeah,
first, a Saban or
exactly.
Dispenza, but
Yeah,
I heard it from Joe Dispenza.
me
So
from the football world, I'm like, that's one of Nick
that makes
Saban's
sense.
biggest yelling. Be where your feet are. Like, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense, and it's the only
Yeah.
thing we can ever do, honestly. Right?
It's the only thing that we can ever control is
Right.
being right here, right now, and developing that self command muscle, which is what positive intelligence is about. This thing is training your brain to focus on what you tell it to focus on and not go to that default network automatically after 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's to stay right here, right now, because I I said I'm going to be right here and
Right.
I need to focus on right here, not future tripping, not past regretting. And it's that self command muscle that allows that to happen. So if you don't have a very strong self command muscle, there's an issue there. There's an
Right.
issue there. And it's really going to take a lot of effort to get there. However, to bring it back full circle, it only takes a few short minutes of mindfulness a day to be where your feet are on a consistent basis throughout the day that will allow that self command muscle to develop. It's just like going to the gym.
Right.
If you go
Yes.
to the gym and you work out your legs, you work out your legs, you work out your legs get bigger, they get stronger, they get faster,
Right.
And if you do that with your mind, if you're mindful every day, like you were talking about, for 11 hours, 30 minutes
Yeah.
a day for 22 days, your scans look different.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
your
You
MRIs,
are
your PET scans
physically
look different.
a real and honest physical difference. And how much is your attention worth? Well, how much does a commercial during the Super Bowl cost? That's what our
Yeah.
attention is worth. So now that we are the kings and queens of our own attention. Well, now if we're intentional about it, I think paideia, the Greek word paideia, is being intentional about our attention towards things that will bring on more self cultivation, like the best version of myself. And then, Sophrosyn is trying to put ourselves in a situation in which we want to be we want to be drawn towards the things that we know will grow us, drawn towards the good. So it's participating in these activities, which the more you participate in something, is the better we get at it. But for some reason, as adults, well, if we were learning how to walk right now as adults, I don't think anybody would ever walk. I think we would be concerned with what our shoes look like. We would be concerned if anybody was
Yeah.
watching us when we fell. We'd be concerned with, all kinds of craziness. But when you were a kid learning how to walk, you could have had a poopy diaper on. You could have had all these other people laughing. It didn't matter. We were only concerned with being where our feet are. Where our feet were, we were trying to walk,
Hmm.
and that's all we cared about. And that's what it comes down to. And
I love it.
hey, sometimes we get in our own way 100%. And how could it not be? If we were perfect, then there would be nothing to do, and if there was nothing to do, we would wither away and die. So
Yeah. And I would be
we all
completely out of a job, and so would you.
yeah, right. So you
Mm.
know, uh, essentially, it's about living this thing called life with enjoy, chasing joy, not necessarily pleasure, and and you are going to make mistakes. We are going to make mistakes, and but we are going to move, because I tell my students the sea squirt, is a tadpole, and then once it finds its home, the first thing it does is it eats its own brain, and it eats its own brain because it's not going to move anymore. Well, are we eating our own brain, or are we trying to grow our brain? If we grow our
That's
brain
so
through
gross, but I love it.
yeah,
It's so
um,
gross, but I love
you know,
it.
but how much time are we spending mindlessly letting people give us information that at the end of the day is not it's of no value to us. So be
And
intentional
we're
about it.
taking it as truth and
Yes.
not investing it, getting it, and
Mm,
exploring it, and like, what is the
mhm.
motivation behind sharing this? What are they
Yeah.
trying to get
What are
me
they trying to
to
do?
side with, understand, buy, think?
Mm,
Um, ask yourself,
mm,
what was that
yeah.
commercial about, really?
Mm. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't I be intentional about when we're trying to be entertained. And I did what say that the big difference between entertainment and education is when I'm entertained, all I have to do is sit there. But when I'm educated, I actually have to bring in information. And if that information I've just brought in is in conflict with something that I already knew, then I might have to cut off a piece of me and move forward a different person. And I think that's why the entertainment industry is so much more promising than the education industry, because educating ourselves hurts, especially when it's in conflict with things that we believe for whatever reasons. So
Yeah, for sure.
yes, it is painful, but we've all grown. If we say, what's what's the one thing that you're most proud about, or what's the one thing that you grew the most about from, it'll be a it'll be a situation or a circumstance where we were the most challenged. So, instead of the
Yeah.
challenges coming from within or from without, but sometimes every now and then make that challenge come from within, and we know that we'll be grateful for it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can control that a little bit better. My challenge came from my brother dying by unaliving himself. And so I don't wish that on my worst enemy. And man, did I grow from it. And this is how I
Yeah,
ended up here now. I have no doubt about that. But I also could have done it without such trauma.
yeah,
So if you can figure out how to do it without the dramatic issues and the life loss, I
well,
absolutely recommend 10 out of 10 do that instead, please.
100%. But then, as with that said as well, you'll also be a trillionaire. I think sometimes we've got to be put into those situations. I
Yeah.
had an incident with self harm, and I mean I'm here, but it's a very 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 deep learning experience, and to come out the other side is, life is a gift. It is a beautiful
It
gift, and
is.
don't. We're all moving there. Nothing's that bad in your life. So, no matter how bad things are going, everybody in the earth would trade places with you in a heartbeat, and we're all going there. So don't rush.
Yeah,
Be where your
please.
feet are. Woosah.
I'm so glad that you're here, Roger. I'm so glad
I
that you're
appreciate
here and
it.
here to
Yeah.
share this experience and this story with me. Thank you so much. Where can everybody find your books and talk about motiveandmotivation.com?
Motiveandmotivation.com is really just people coming together. If anybody has a question about anything that's kind of bothering them or anything like that, I have a little podcast or whatnot where I kind of answer questions. Sometimes students ask me something, and I put it on there for anybody. And really, just if you want to have communication about something in terms of a motivational factor. And then my books, both of them are on Amazon. The first one is Motivation in You, the book everyone should read. This is just about finding out about yourself. Who are you from a sociological perspective? Who are you from a psychological perspective? Talk about a little bit of archetypes, and then some information that we know about the most successful people, and how they're built and how they're made. And then the second one is Courage, Love, and Discipline. Build Your Pyramid, which is pretty much once I know where I am now, what should I do? I can't give you a list of rules. We have to really start acting off of virtues, and those virtues are courage, my ability to move forward into the future, knowing both the good and bad, love, uh, being able to sacrifice who I am right now for who I will be, and disciplined, using the lessons and blessings from the past so that I can move forward into the future. And then the third one, that's slated to come out in November, is Origins and Actions, all of the philosophical and theological reasons why it's courage, love, and discipline. So,
Amazing.
yeah.
You guys, they'll be all linked down below in the description, including, again, Roger's IG that's been scrolling across the screen this whole time. Motiveandmotivation.com will also be linked below. And so go grab these books. Go say hi to Roger on motiveandmotivation.com. Maybe drop a question you've been struggling with, or a friend's been struggling with, and just get a different perspective. Because when we say the hard part out loud, when we are vulnerable enough to ask the hard questions, we help those that aren't vulnerable enough, that aren't in a place that they can use their voice, but they have the same questions. So when you're brave like that, you help more than just you. And so I absolutely encourage you to go and utilize that service. Roger, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I could talk to you for hours about this stuff. I'm so glad that you were here and contributed your time, your energy, your effort, your learnings, your wisdom. And I'm grateful, my friend. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love what you're doing, and we just if everybody had this type of energy, the world would be a better place. Period.
All right. Thanks, my friend. I take that. All right. You guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for viewing this. Again, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things. And remember that it just takes a few short minutes a day of mindfulness, of some sort of activity to actually rewire your brain. Be where your feet are, my friends. Thank you.
Ciao.